Hello, you're watching Hornbill TV. Despite the remarkable progress made in improving access to education in India, several education challenges persist in Nagaland, particularly in rural areas in some of the most remote parts of Nagaland. The chronic absence of government school teachers and the prevalence of proxy teachers. These obstacles not only undermines the quality of education but hinders the ability of underprivileged children to receive quality education, limiting their opportunities for personal growth and societal advancements. To shed light on this pressing matter, we have our associate editor Almuli joining me live from the newsroom. Hi sir, thank you so much for joining me and good morning.
Good morning, Naomi.
Okay, sir, first off, to start with our conversation here, recently there's been an uproar after a video of a locked school in Yanpa village under Wokha district surfaced online. Sir, seen in the video where school children along with Yanpa SMC chairman and some parents raising their concern over the absence of all the school teachers on 16th of August. So, sir, how serious is this issue and what impact could it have on the society, sir?
Did you say the village was Lampa? What was the name again?
Yanpa from Wokha district, sir.
Yanpa.
Yes.
Yanpa. Yeah, I think it's one of the most remote villages in Wokha district. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's toward the south. I've never been there, but I think it should be in the southern ranges. Now, I have not really been following the story, but was it proxy teachers or was it
absence of teachers on the 16th of August? There were seven teachers, so including the headmaster, the teacher in charge were absent on the day itself.
Wow.
That was the issue, yes, sir.
Wow, yeah. Naomi, it's what happened in Lampa is not to be taken as representative of the educational administration that is going on in Wokha, because it is not a one-time incident here. Across Nagaland, the problem of absenteeism, proxy teaching is rampant and it has been going on for decades. This is not representative of Wokha. In fact, this is so common. If you just walk into one of those government primary schools, especially in the outskirts of the towns and cities, even in Dimapur, yes, you will see that there will be a lot of teachers who will be absent from work, or you have higher chances of proxy teachers. So this is not an isolated case, and this is certainly not an exception. This is the rule everywhere. Now, the problem here, why the issue of absenteeism, especially in government teaching establishments, and proxy teaching in Nagaland is so rampant, and it's almost a tradition now. If you ask me, it's almost a tradition. So the reason it's still existing even after 30-40 years of students protesting, community organizations raising their voices to the government to stop this practice, the reason it's still continuing and prospering is because there is no one to monitor them. We have headmasters, but the headmasters and the headmistresses are the ones who are mostly, except in towns, urban areas, Kohima, Dimapur, Mauchong, or maybe in some places in capital areas such as Teminu. Even headmasters and headmistresses, administrative officials, they are the ones who are not overseeing the control mechanism, the balance mechanisms. There is no one to look after them. That is why it is even easier for remote areas. Lampa, it could be anywhere. If you are outside the urban areas, the chances of you teaching in proxy is very, very high because there is no control mechanism there, Naomi.
All right, so it's clear that, as you have mentioned, absenteeism and the issue of proxy teachers are, one of the major problems in the government primary schools in Nagaland. So these issues aren't, just limited to rural areas. They're also happening in urban schools as well. So why is the issue rampant in government institutions, or what do you think could be some of the, corrective measures to address these challenges?
Yeah, good question. over the years, I've had several friends who have been teaching in private institutions in Dimapur, Dami. And I think one of the biggest complaints that private teachers have in regard to their career is that they are overworked, but they're underpaid. They have to fulfill all their professional obligations to their duties. You have to come on time. You have to show performance to the performance of your students. You have a lot to do, but you're underpaid. But now if you look at the government teachers in Nagaland are one of the highest paid professionals in the Northeast region. And even if you look at the salary medians, you will see that at least, I don't know, maybe 50 or 60 times, you will see that government teachers in Nagaland are very highly paid. They enjoy a lot of perks. They have social security, they have pensions, they have all the amenities, they have times off, they have a little, better life and work balance than people like us who are in the private institutions. Now, why is that the people who are overworked and underpaid have to suffer, but those who are overpaid and underworked are the ones who have to get away with all this? This is very simple, Naomi. It is because the private professional never has to worry about his social security. For the government worker, whether you are a teacher or a doctor or an engineer, you will never have to have social insecurity in that sense. You never have to worry if somebody is going to remove you from the job if you're not working. So this is one of the pitfalls of government, of a government career. Even if you don't perform, they don't notice. It is on very, very rare instances that if somehow your performance happen to come in front of people, by the way, who also don't know your work, you are going to face penalty of some kind. But it is very rare that you will not lose your job. And that is why it is easier for government employees, government professionals to not really bother about you, whether you're working or not, whether you're sending proxies, whether you are not performing. They don't have to worry about it. And I've heard this many times from my own friends. And I have heard this from the senior generations who have worked in the government. So this is the reason, the main reason why there is, and we're talking only about the education department here,
yes, sir,
why there is so much of absenteeism, why there is so much proxy teaching.
Right, sir. Sir, last year during the State Teachers' Day celebration in Kohima, Dr. Kyakrilhole Hyome, the advisor for school education and SCRT, while announcing a slew of reformations, he mentioned and he announced Saturdays as holidays for both private and government schools as well, which was a decision that was welcomed by many. Now, it's interesting to note that despite this is just one example, sir, but private school teachers who, if we have to compare their salary, the private school teachers earn modest salaries, and they are required to, or rather they are obligated to have 100% 100% attendance and punctuality. Right. Whereas the government teachers, not all but some, who are most of the government, all the government teachers, like you have mentioned earlier, they are more generously compensated, but they seem to be less so when it comes to giving their service. Not every teachers, but there are few. So, sir, what does this imply about the current state of our educational system and also the society at large?
Yeah, I think it says that our establishment has failed. I think it says that our monitoring and balance and check establishments have failed. And I think it also says that our education has failed. And like I said earlier, this is not the first time. In 2007 and 2008, there was a huge, massive purge in the education department. There were almost 5,000 teachers who were found to be illegally appointed. and many of them had no documentations. Many of them had not the prerequisite qualifications that they were supposed to have when they first entered their professions, when they were first appointed. Many of them were bogus. Many of them were proxy teachers with false documentations. I think it was about 5,000 of them. And then the government removed all of them. But later on, the government again retracted their appointment, saying, oh, Nagas, they have families, they have no other livelihood to depend on. So that is the kind of mentality that we have, where we do not seek reforms that will progress our quality of life. It could be education, it could be medical or healthcare. It could be in the media, it could be engineering, it could be roads and development. We have a mentality of entitlement, and in some way, in a weird way, a mentality of reverse compassion, where we do not take into account misconduct, but we actually show them compassionate compensation in that case. So we have had a lot of problems over the years, especially in the education department, but we still have not yet been able to resolve. First thing, because like I said, first thing is the whole idea of reverse compassion. And second is that we don't have control and checks, which means that we don't have managing and controlling mechanism that will monitor the conduct of the government employees. And even if there were monitoring establishments that will keep a check on the performance of the employees, the people sitting at top, most of the time, they are experienced only in administrative actions. Their line of work is different, that they are not able to correctly measure the performance of the teachers. For example, there are many, even in the media too, we have monitoring mechanisms. And these monitoring and administrative mechanism, the platforms, both legal and constitutional authorities that we have in the journalism industry, even these people who are sitting above us to see how the industry is conducting itself, they are extremely experienced people who know everything that we are doing, from reporting to cinematography to documentation to news writing to news reporting. So we need people in the government who know how the whole system works, for them to build some kind of a mechanism where they can resolve issues in regard to performance, absenteeism, and about the performance of the teachers in general. So the second is that we don't have such kind of control measures. And third is it's actually us, the citizens, the people who allow it, Naomi. I'm not concerned about my child's quality of education if I see a proxy teacher, or I see the teachers are not attending school, but I stay silent. Just because I think, oh, moi complain korile to teacher la, kam to hatawo, to tayo ko na jawo, so moram gori na ni chupchap boy jawo. It's actually the people's fault that the system is still working despite all these flaws that continue to unravel itself before our eyes. Naomi.
Right, sir. Sir, since we're talking about teachers, I wanted to put this up as well. As I mentioned earlier, sir, private school teachers are, expected to be punctual, regular, and sincere, both by the institutions, the head of the institutions, and by parents as well. On the other hand, sir, some government teachers, despite earning, significantly more, sometimes they show a lackadaisical attitude, like the one that we are discussing right now, regarding the Yampa school incident. Sir, with educated unemployment being a major issue in our state, Nagaland, do you think that society should, step up to better understand and also improve the living conditions of the private teachers to, support the Naga youths and the community? Even though only the best candidates secure government jobs, private institutions, they often outperform them when it comes to results, class 10 and 12 results, if we have to compare. Sir, do you believe that there should be some reforms in Nagaland's educational system?
Not just some. I think the entire system needs to be revamped, reorganized in some way, where they have to take into account not just the government employees' welfare, their working conditions or their performances and their whole social security. I think it's about time. And actually, the government should be actually taking care of all these regulatory imperatives. It's not just the government, but also the private institutions. And definitely there was a time way back, 2007 and 8, I think it was during the time of Education Minister, Mr. Im Kong Im Chen. If I'm not mistaken, Mr. Im Kong Im Chen, or I don't know, I'm not really clear about who the minister was during that time. But during the time, I think the government tried to revamp the system, bring in reforms, root out all absentee teachers, non-performing teachers, and proxy teachers. And I think the whole idea was to bring in new teachers, especially youths who were educated, who were qualified, but they had no employment. So I think the idea during the 2007 and 2008 reforms was that they would root out all the non-performing teachers and bring in new. But then, like I said, all this happening in the education department or anywhere else in the government is because of the tolerance of the people, and it is also us that is actually contributing to that disease. So I think it will be really great if the private teachers can also form a forum for themselves where they can seek some kind of a constitutional regulatory framework that will look into their welfare and their conditions. It could be about salary, and Nagaland's median salary across the spectrum from the media to teaching, even in the engineering sector. It's somewhere, I think the last research that I did was way back about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it is in the median of 20 to 25, and it's one of the lowest in India in any career for in any industry. So our living standard is very high. The average family of 2 children and a couple will spend about 30 to 35 just on their monthly, just for their monthly budget. So our living standards are very high. Inflation is extremely high, but our salaries have not been changing for the past about 10 years now. So yeah, definitely it's not just for the teachers, but everywhere, everyone else. It is for the professional communities who are not engaged in the government sector to form some kind of a forum and represent their grievances and voice before the government, to use some kind of a constitutional tool and constitutional framework to address their welfare conditions, their livelihood conditions, their compensations and their pays, remunerations, their general social security. So I think that way there will be more competition between the government establishment and the private establishment. Like you have mentioned, if you look generally, government establishments are one of the poorest performing schools in the education sector. But it's the private establishments who, although underpaid and overworked, they are performing great. So definitely that change has to come from the people, and a constitutional tool that is used by the state government can actually bring some kind of a, not all, but some kind of a solution that will somehow make the matter a little more acceptable now.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for joining me and sharing us your insight as we discussed the pressing issues of teacher absenteeism and proxy teaching in schools here in Nagaland. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me, Naomi.
Yes, sir. So with the concerns raised and the insights shared, it's clear that ensuring consistent and effective education is crucial for the development of students, both in urban and rural areas. We hope that the necessary measures will be taken to address these challenges and improve the quality of education. For now, this is all. For more news and updates, keep watching Hornbill TV.